Kia ora, gentlemen. Today we're going to cover the last part of content for the year, which is in whole and part learning. And we'll also quickly review some of the answers from yesterday, or the questions that you had to answer. We're just going to look at two different skills, and there's two, and this will relate to today's work on the different types of ways that we can provide instructions for them and learn these skills. First one here is a peony kick. And this one here, we've got obviously someone who's kicking from, I think, 64 meters in length. And the next one that we'll link in today is here, Roger Federer, completing a serve to Sharon slow-mo, and this relates to, in particular, the part learning skills. So there's two different ways we can learn both these skills in here. This one here we can use part learning, which I'll describe shortly, and the first skill is more towards whole learning, doing it from start to finish without any breaks. Part learning, and what we'll learn today, is that we can break complex skills such as the serve down into elements or subroutines, which makes it a lot easier to learn. This will all help you and assist you with your aspect of what you have to do for task 4 for your basketball assignment. So we'll quickly bounce back to what you had to do yesterday, and there's some of the answers for some of the questions you had there. First one, what could be the risks associated with mass practice? So that is, again, not having any breaks, practicing it again and again and again. Obviously, if you thought about that, we would have fatigue with repeating it again and again. Less engagement or boring, particularly if we're at the beginning level. We're not too skilled or we're not too motivated. And then we've got overuse injuries. Next one, we've got mass practice can benefit to certain types of people and skills. These being highly skilled individuals, highly motivated individuals, and then also professional athletes, which will be a combination of those first two aspects. Next, distributed practice. Again, this is the one where we're having rest periods or intervals in between learning those skills. So that might be, for instance, doing some free throws, then moving to three-pointers, then layups, and then having breaks in between. So distributed practice is often the preferred method when energy demands are high, when the task is complex, when motivation is low, and when the task is boring. So when you're thinking your task 4 assignment, try to think of a combination of these two possibly, but try to link it in with your skill level that you have. So what's your skill level? Is it cognitive? Is it autonomous or associative? Because it will depend on what method of these two practices you're going to use. And you need to state why, which one will be beneficial when you go through it. Mass practice is obviously good sometimes because we are fatigued, imitating what may be happening in a game situation, particularly towards that back end when you might make mistakes. You're used to working under fatigue state. However, if you're just learning a skill, having a break to get that focus back and also catch our breath would be helpful with the distributed side of things if we're at the lower level. Our next one we have here, is flicking to the other question. So you had to focus on fixed practice, or sometimes known as drill practice, or variable practice we have in here. So fixed practice, again, just to remind you, these sometimes are known as drills, involves repeatedly practicing a whole skill in order to strengthen the motor program. This type of practice is best with, if we refer back to skill classification, discrete skills and closed. So we don't have defenders in there in our game. It's discrete and broken down. So with this one here, drills tend to be best suited to closed skills. This is because movement patterns are being drilled over and over again when the environment never changes. So it is movement patterns. This could be a positive or negative. If we're learning the wrong pattern, then again we're reinforcing that. So it has to be the right pattern done effectively and well. And that obviously would link to feedback, making sure you're getting some feedback from a coach, either verbal or visual, someone filming you and showing you afterwards to make sure that you're doing the drill well. Variable practice, or sometimes known as problem-solving practice, is best suited to open skills. So again, we're having defenders in there. It's sort of like a game situation. And in here we will have, and just remind you of this one, this is used best for open skills and involves repeating the skill in a varying situations. For example, shooting practice in football where the coach may set up drills and alter the starting position and the involvement of defenders that will be moving around. This helps build your confidence in game situations and learning from your mistakes that might happen in those situations, and again receiving feedback from the coach or other athletes on what you would need to improve on. So open skills require a degree of creativity. Athletes need to respond to the environment that is changing and pressure from the opposition. Again, these are going to be linked to your skill level. If you're at the lower end of your skill level, then you might be doing possibly drill. But hey, for your second drill, and this will make more sense when I go over the assignment, you might be more thinking towards the open skill, where you've got players coming in putting pressure on you to imitate what will be happening in the game situation when we get into basketball. So whole learning, these are the two aspects we're going to cover today in detail, and there'll be some questions that you'll have to answer down on Gravity. So for whole learning, we are doing this skill from start to finish, and the reason being is that we want to learn how to do this skill with a simple skill fast and fluently, and having that understanding of it. So we're getting the feel from it, and that's that kinesthetic learning, and we're getting that efficiency from it. Best used for skills that are closed, so not even defenders, simple, highly organized, and fast movements. And as I said, it promotes these aspects here. It's not suitable for people with low attention spans, or if it's a dangerous or complex skill, and is for beginner learners possibly. So, for example, I've got a peony. It's very hard to break down, and that's the next bit we're going to go down to. Very hard to break down a simple skill such as kicking a ball. We could break it down into little aspects and focus on that, but generally we would practice it in a whole movement. Running, again, we can't break that movement down, and we're focusing on the fluency and the feel of it as we go through it. And then we've got up here front roll. That aspect there is a dangerous movement, and we can't break it down, so we need to practice it in its entirety from start to finish. The next one is part learning, and this is when we practice a skill in parts or subroutines. So if we go back to the start, we had a tennis serve. Just down here on the right, I'll be practicing skills, say throw the ball up. Then I'll be practicing my leg movement without hitting it. And then I'll practice the hits, and then we'll go through what the follow through would look like and where we would put our feet. Another good example is, in fact, down here, a long triple jump. So we've got the hop, skip, and a jump aspects that we have to go through. We would practice each individually, then go through a whole movement of them all together. So in fact, and we'll all bounce onto this shortly, you can do whole part learning, where we might focus on an aspect, then practice it all together, and then come back and practice it again. So we'll go quickly over the advantages and disadvantages. Each part is practiced on its own, and we've had an example there of triple jump. You might do this in basketball with the layup, practicing scaffolding it, so doing one part at a time. Might be that you step and just jump off one foot and throw it up. Then you might come back and take 2 steps, jump up, then hold the ball in your hands, then beforehand dribble, go into those movements, and then finally do the whole movement together. Or it might be for a dribble, particularly if we're doing a complex movement within the dribble. We might break the dribble down to the easiest part, just bouncing it, then the crossover, then between our legs, gaining that confidence as we go through. Specific aspects of the skill can be modified and changed, so we can just focus on one aspect. That might be a downfall of doing that movement in its whole. It might be the release of the ball, so you're just practicing that. It might be that you get your placement wrong with your foot, or what aspect you jump off. It might be the wrong foot, so you just practice it, get yourself out of those poor habits. It allows the performer to develop confidence when practicing the skill. We've done this in class as well, breaking down the layup, so you can gain confidence. When you do it in a whole movement, it reduces the element of risk if there is something involved within the skill that may cause injury. It allows the performer periods of recovery during physical demanding skills. So it's kind of like that distributed, and that's really important for if you're at the beginning learning level, the cognitive level. This part learning will be really important. And when you get to your P assignment, I should see a lot of you, because it is going to be a weakness you focus on, using part learning. But we'll quickly go over the next part on how we can use part and whole learning together. Maintains motivation, and it's that internal sort of being proud of what you've done and where you've come in each part. And that's related to that confidence you're going to gain from it. Some disadvantages, it hinders development of the continuity and the timing of the skill because we've broken it down. Reduces overall kinesthetic awareness, so the feel of the movement. Transfer from part to whole may not be effective. Highly organised skills are hard to break down, and sometimes it can be time consuming and sometimes boring if you're at the higher level. So it's going to be targeted at the right level and have a purpose to it. And this is the final part. So we can put this skill into whole learning. So practice a complete skill altogether, possibly find out what issues you're having with the skill, then split down in those issues you're having with the skill. You work on those into subroutines, and then practice again the complete skill. And then hopefully you've worked on those areas of weakness within there. So again, this is something you can use in your task for your PE assignment. You've got to state why you're doing it and link it to your skill level that you're currently at for that skill. So advantages, it combines the advantages of both methods. It's flexible for all abilities, enables the entire skill to be practiced together, allows focus on weak subroutines. So is there an element in your skill that's poor? Say it's the release coming off the flick of your fingers in the layup or the free throw or the three-pointer. Good for low organisational serious skills such as shot putting, and also for complex and open, close skills. Disadvantages, it combines obviously disadvantages for both. Could be difficult for low ability and learners of low motivation. Could be lots of information overload, and finally it can be demotivating for athletes and not suitable, as we said, for skills that are continuous such as biking, sprinting. You can break those down to a degree, but they are sort of that continuous same motion that they do each time. So a swimmer, for instance, might do a length focusing on their breathing or the entry of their hand and break it down. They might be paddling with a kickboard and just focusing one technical element of that stroke. Then on the next one, they just do full strokes, same continuous element to it. And then the next one, they'll go and break it down into parts again, just focus on one part of the stroke as they go through it, and then do whole part, whole. With all these skills that we've gone over, you'll start to think of elements of your coaches doing these sorts of practices, breaking a skill down, then doing it in an open environment, then back into a closed school environment, mass distributed. Are they getting you to do problem solving, which is that variable learning? Are they getting you to do drills, repetitive drills again and again? And they use different elements in this. So within a training session, they'll do 10 minutes on one, 5 minutes on one, 15 minutes on another. And you'll see that it creates changes your focus as you go through each one. Any questions, please do ask, and just put that on each other's social streams or just email the teacher directly. But this will be our last lesson on content, so well done.